Part 86. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 859. Sutinyu walked around in the cargo hold, and finally focused on the iron door of the cargo hold. The iron door has a lock. Is this for the purpose of locking people in? Sutinyu held a section of the iron fence of the iron door with one hand and was about to use force when suddenly, footsteps came from outside. Sutinyu let go of his hands and quickly found a corner to lie down, folding his hands and feet behind him as if his hands and feet were tied, and then closed his eyes. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and a figure got through the gap in the iron door and entered the deck in the cargo hold. The sound of footsteps disappeared for a few seconds in front of the iron door, and then a gaze swept in from the outside. After checking around, no abnormality was found, and the man left. Sutinyu pricked up his ears, listening to the footsteps getting farther and farther away, and finally disappeared completely, and then he opened his eyes again. Sutinyu approached the iron gate again. There are still people patrolling, and we are at sea now. If we break the iron gate and fail to leave in time, we will be exposed by then. The ship looked quite large, so Sutinyu had to find a way to sneak to the upper deck, and then he could just jump into the sea and swim away. It can't be broken. How to get out? Sutinyu opened the inventory and looked for any suitable game items. Transforming emerald, I have it. Sutinyu used the palm of his hand to measure the distance between the gaps in the iron fence, and then activated his ability to transform emeralds. Sutinyu's body lit up with a burst of green light. 5 seconds later, when the light dissipated, Sutinyu's figure was gone, leaving only a palm-sized little milk cat, which easily slipped out from the gap in the iron door. The effect of the transformation emerald is 2 hours. Sutinyu seized the time and started running towards the top of the ship. Along the way, Sutinyu relied on her petite body to find a place to hide in advance whenever she heard footsteps. Sutinyu also knew the specific structure of the ship. Even if he didn't know the specific layout, as long as he saw an upward staircase, he would jump up with his short legs and hum. "Old Wang, would you like to have a drink? Aren't you on duty today? Xiaoma and I have transfer jobs, come on, let's go have some fun." Sutinyu met people walking outside on the boat. Without exception, they were all men. Judging from his appearance, he looked tall and masculine, unlike the thin men Sutinyu saw in Jiyan continent. Sutinyu thought of the human trafficking she had discovered when she was in the Yin-Yang City dungeon. In addition, the two continents were separated by the ocean, and ships were needed to travel between the two places. Putting all the signs together, if the worldview is correct, then his current identity is probably one of the people who were abducted, and the final destination of this ship is Jiyang continent, which he has never set foot on. Once you go to Jiyang continent, your physique will be changed for more than 7 days, and it will be even more difficult to complete tasks in the dungeon. Sutinyu planned to find a place to stay in Jiyang continent, which was relatively friendly to him, and then search for the heart of light and darkness in the mission. After Sutinyu ran hard for half an hour, finally, a large patch of sunlight appeared above his head. Sutinyu felt happy and jumped out of the stairs with all his strength. The small claws on his short legs were slightly exposed and he grabbed the surface of the deck to prevent slipping. There were more people walking around on the deck. The gray little cat shook its body slightly, and then moved closer to the bulwark at the edge of the open deck, clinging to various debris. At this time, the sea was calm, the sun was blazing overhead, and the sun was shining brightly. When he was in the extremely cloudy continent, Sutinyu never saw clear and cloudless weather. "Hurry, move this box, over here. And this." On the deck, there were many sailors carrying some cargo, and no one noticed a gray kitten. "No, someone has escaped. Quick! Block all exits. You stinky bitches still dare to run away." A commotion suddenly broke out on the deck, and Sutinyu rolled to the edge of a bulwark, confused. "Could it be that you discovered that I escaped?" No matter, run away first. Sutingyu raised his head, looked at the height of the bulwark, then jumped up and jumped out of the bulwark. Thump. There was a faint sound of splashing water. The second before jumping into the water, Sutingyu immediately used underwater breathing beads and water avoiding beads. The little kitten was scratching around in the water. After it was a certain distance away from the ship, it returned to its original body. Then it took out the underwater booster belt from the inventory and swam in the opposite direction of the ship. Jiyan continent and Jiyang continent face each other across the sea, and the cargo ship is heading to Jiyang continent, and the opposite direction is Jiyan continent. Fortunately, I kept all these waterproof beads from the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea copy. Sutingyu secretly rejoiced as he hurried through the water. In order not to get lost in the vast sea, Sutingyu took out a compass from his large outdoor camping bag. The original direction of the ship was west, so Sutingyu had to keep swimming eastward. Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. Sutingyu always paid attention to the time. If the waterproof beads he was using were about to run out, he would remove the fireproof beads that were useless for the time being and replace them with new waterproof beads. This is too far, why haven't we arrived yet? Sutingyu clearly remembered that when he looked at the map of Yin and Yang continent before, there was only a finger's distance between the two continents. Although I know the map is scaled down, I still can't help but complain when I should. Fortunately, Sutingyu didn't have to swim by himself, so it didn't take much effort. After swimming for almost 4 hours, a panel suddenly popped up in front of Sutingyu. Main mission, exploring the heart of the intersection of light and darkness on the seabed, to be refreshed. Huh? The main mission has been refreshed? Is there a heart of light and darkness nearby? Sutingyu stopped, turned around and started to look around. In the newly refreshed mission, the word undersea is mentioned. Sutingyu only hesitated for 2 seconds and then dived immediately. Where can there be a heart where light and darkness meet at the bottom of the sea? Sutingyu cursed in his heart, his eyes constantly looking around. Sutingyu also saw some marine creatures in the sea, but they were all ordinary creatures. They did not develop intelligence, speak words, or give directions to themselves like the marine creatures 20,000 miles under the sea. They could only wandering around on your own. After staying at the bottom of the sea for another 2 hours, when Sutingyu swam over a trench, the panel popped out again. Main mission, entering the historical ruins at the junction of light and darkness, to be refreshed. Historical relics. Suwei looked down and his eyes fell on the dark ditch. Is it inside? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Kei. Chapter 860. Sutingyu was not in a hurry to go in. It's so dark inside the trench that you can't see anything, and there might be some kind of danger hidden there. Sutingyu took out the flashlight from the large outdoor camping bag, and then took out the meteor rod. He holds a flashlight in his right hand and a meteor rod in his left hand. Various life-saving props in his inventory are also ready to be activated at any time. Finally, Sutingyu replaced the underwater breathing beads and water-avoiding beads before slowly swimming into the trench. Extremely Yin Continent. Financial Services Bureau, Office of the Director. In the office, the rustling sound of pen and paper sounded intermittently. Su Jian was sitting at her desk, processing the documents at hand. Bureau Su, a lady named Chu came outside and said she came to catch up with you at this time. A person walked in from the door. Song. Su Jian was stunned for a second, then suddenly raised her head excitedly and quickly ordered, "Quick! Invite people in." Yes, the messenger responded and immediately turned around and went out. Su Jian couldn't sit still anymore, put down the work at hand, stood up, and walked around in front of her desk. After waiting for a while, the sound of footsteps came again. This time it was 2 people. The person responsible for leading the way took the guests and left on their own. The visitor was wearing a black cloak, and after taking off his hat, his true appearance was revealed. Chu Xinyu's lips curled up, as if she were seeing a friend, and she said kindly, "Jian." Sir Su Jian's face suddenly showed a hint of joy. "Why are you here? Could it be that?" Chu Xinyu shook her head slightly. "This is a privilege I applied for. It has been temporarily ended and the time to start it is to be determined." Chu Xinyu didn't mention parallel paradise in his words, but Su Jian also knew the general idea before, so she naturally understood what the former wanted to express. "How long has it been now?" Chu Xinyu found a seat and sat down, asking. Having just arrived in Jian continent, Chu Xinyu was in a hurry to meet people, but she didn't pay much attention to the time. However, Chu Xinyu is clear about the proportion of time passing in the two worlds, and can probably guess it. "Sir, it has been 9 months since you last left." Su Jian briefly reported on some recent events. "According to your arrangement, after Mei Wengxiang's death, through operation, I took her place in the finance bureau, and my original position was also arranged for a confidant to take over. After taking over the finance department, according to your instructions, a batch of funds were allocated from the bureau to purchase various supplies. This is the list." Su Jian pulled out a document from the drawer under her desk and handed it to Chu Xinyu. Chu Xinyu took it and opened it to check. "By the way, when I came over, I noticed something was wrong with the atmosphere in the bureau." "What happened?" Chu Xinyu asked casually. "Sir, have you forgotten, 10,000 years of light and darkness have rotated, and now the deadline is coming soon." Su Jian lowered her voice, as if she was afraid of disturbing something, and her expression showed a bit of fear. Chu Xinyu recalled it for a while, and finally remembered that incident, her face no longer as calm as before. "So how are you preparing now? It happens once every 10,000 years, so you can't be careless. If there is a slight mistake, everything in Yin Yang Star may be overturned. We are all preparing now. Some time ago, we also reached an agreement with Ji Yang. Let's go through the cycle of light and darkness smoothly. First, there are no outsiders here, and Su Jian doesn't have to stay calm, although her words make sense. Relaxed, the state revealed is exactly the opposite tension. "Sir, do you have anything important to do when you come back this time?" Su Jian skipped this frightening topic. "Yes." Chu Xinyu nodded. "There are similar groups in Yin Yang Star. When it starts up again, everyone in Yin Yang Star will be involved. You must be prepared." "Everyone?" Su Jian frowned. "Those lowly pets too?" "Yes, there are all kinds of strange items there. If those pets get some threatening weapons, Yin Yang Star may be in chaos. Although the Yin and Yang continent seems to be polarized, it has been in a strange balance for so many years. In Jiyan continent, men cannot resist women. In Jiyang continent, women cannot resist men." Chu Xinyu received internal information that once the public beta starts, the influence brought by parallel paradise will inevitably break the current balance of Yin Yang Star. Su Jian's face suddenly changed slightly. "Sir, do you know the time to turn it on? If it happens to be a sensitive period of light and darkness, then—" "Don't worry." Chu Xinmo was full of energy and did not panic at all. "You can think of it, and those people above can also think of it. They will find ways to delay the opening time, and wait for the smooth transition of Yin Yang Star to the new 10,000 years. Turn it on again." Before coming, Chu Xinyu asked the administrator who sent her to Yin Yang Star when the public beta would be launched. The administrator did not specify the time, but also hinted that he might have to wait and turn it on again after a while. Chu Xinyu had been away from Yin Yang Star for too long before, and she almost forgot about the cycle of light and darkness, so, that wait a moment was just waiting for the cycle of light and darkness to end. "Sir, it seems that there are people in the senior management who have become the same group as you. However, they don't seem to know as much as you do. If you want the Yin Yang Star to transition smoothly, you must gain the trust of the senior management." Su Jian was a little embarrassed. His qualifications are limited. Although he is the leader of the game, the power at hand is not enough to control the deployment of the entire Jian continent. Chu Xinyu pondered for a moment. This is a problem, leave it to me. I will find a way to make them believe that since there are people at the top, you can help me invite them. Local players who find Yin Yang Star, knock Xinyu don't have to be like this now, because of the confidentiality of the game, they can only give hints overtly or covertly. Okay, my lord. Su Jian took out her private collection of wine, opened a bottle, poured it into a clean wine glass, and handed it to Chu Xinyu. Sir, how long will you stay when you come back this time? Chu Xinyu put down the document in her hand, took the wine glass, took a sip, mentally estimated the time, and said, about 3 months. Well, sir, I have always sent people to take care of your previous residence regularly. You can move in today. Su Jian brought another set of keys and placed them on the coffee table next to Chu Xinyu's left hand. Well, I'm going back first. You're off work tonight. Come over and let's talk in detail after a trip over. The crescent moon is not visible on the face, but the spirit is really tired and needs a good rest. Fan. After all, Chu Xinyu's body directly spans 2 worlds. Even if someone secretly helped her this time, it would still be a bit overwhelming. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 861. Under the Deep Sea. Su Tingyu used the light of the flashlight to observe the environment inside the trench, while paying attention to the effectiveness of the water droplets. During this period, Su Tingyu encountered some fish that could glow on their own. They were round and about the size of a football, but not aggressive. Su Tingyu glanced at it with his flashlight, and heard rustling sounds coming from some pitted caves. Just when the water repellent beads were about to run out in 10 minutes, Su Tingyu was at the end. Su Tingyu first changed the waterproof beads, and then carefully looked at the bottom of the trench. At the bottom of the trench, there are some broken stone walls standing on the seafloor, and there seems to be something carved on them. Su Tingyu approached a broken wall that was 4 or 5 meters high, and the width. Su Tingyu approached the broken wall, stretched out his hands, and measured it. It was just enough to touch the 2 edges of the broken wall. When Su Tingyu saw the carvings on the broken wall clearly, his eyes widened in surprise. Is it a pattern? No, it's a mural. What is painted on this? Please note. Player Angel Su unlocks the hidden worldview Twilight of the Gods. Summary of the worldview. The fate of the world is the cycle of light and darkness. When the cycle of fate is about to come to the world, the people who have been dreaming for thousands of years are delusional to resist the gods. They try to penetrate the lock cone made of deep-sea cold iron to seal it. The shoulder bones of the bird, the smelly and ugly vulture monsters pecked the flesh and blood of the bird day and night. They cheered, they were arrogant, they disdained, they, from then on, controlled the life, death, and destiny of the bird. Su Tingyu was slightly startled. Hidden worldview. I just entered the dungeon, and the hidden worldview came out. But the 10,000 years of reincarnation and gods mentioned above, Su Tingyu had never found any clues in Yin and Yang City before. Since it was mentioned in the copy, then it should be. Su Tingyu thought of the experience in the nightmare maze, and was a little unsure whether the worldview in front of her was true or false. Main mission, looking for the last fallen angel, to be refreshed. Su Tingyu blinked her big eyes and looked at the main mission refreshed on the panel. It must be true, otherwise the main mission wouldn't be refreshed. However, a new problem emerged. What are fallen angels? Only. Where are the fallen angels? Su Tingyu's eyes returned to the mural. These ancient murals have experienced the washing of time and sea water, and some parts have become blurred. Therefore, they have added a bit of historical sedimentation. Sutinyu spent almost half an hour reading all the murals and extracting some information from the murals. A long time ago, there existed a group of gods in this world. The gods were the supreme masters of the world. Slowly, through the evolution of time, human beings were born. In the ancient times of human civilization, gods were once regarded as beliefs, and all humans believed in gods. However, with the rapid development of human civilization and the three great liberations of human thought, humans gradually no longer believed in gods, and even, he wants to replace God as the ruler of the world. Gods are proud. Human beings are cunning. During the cycle of light and darkness that occurs once in 10,000 years, humans take advantage of the gods' power to be temporarily weakened and directly attack. In the battle between gods and humans, humans discovered that when they cut open the chests of gods, took out the hearts of gods, and then swallowed them, humans would have the power to fight against gods. Under the careful designs of humans, many gods fell into the trap, lost their divine heart, and their strength was greatly reduced. Finally, under the heavy siege of humans, the gods would also fall. Facing the situation of collapse, the six angels joined forces to use divine power to curse the entire continent of mankind. Yin and Yang began to divide, and the world was divided into two, half Yin and half Yang. Due to the demise of all the natural gods, the weather on the continent is also out of balance. Half of them are sunny all year round, and the other half are rainy all year round. In the end, only the fallen angel, one of the seven archangels, was sealed on an island. He penetrated the body of the god with the tip of a cold iron cone, bit the flesh and blood of the god with the smelly vulture, and imprisoned the soul of the god with the forbidden curse. At this point, humans have become the supreme masters of the continent, and there are no gods anymore. Main mission, looking for the last fallen angel, to be refreshed. Is this location, an island, or an island with a volcano? Sutinyu noted down the location where the fallen angel was finally imprisoned, and would look for this volcanic island after returning to land. The main mission has also been refreshed, which shows that Sutinyu's idea is correct. However, Sutinyu was secretly alert. The fallen angel has been imprisoned by humans for who knows how many years. If his mission is to save him, he has to be more careful. After all, he is also a human. If he is angered, killing gods should be possible, right? There was no value in staying here in the trench, so Sutinyu returned the same way and headed upstream. After Sutinyu swam out of the trench again, he suddenly smelled a fishy smell. When Sutinyu noticed it, he found that 7 or 8 sharks were closing in on him. It was obvious that they were eyeing his poor, helpless prey. The poor and helpless Sutinyu sighed, took back the flashlight, and then took out the death blade. This was just a group of ordinary sharks. With the combination of the death blade and the meteor rod, Sutinyu killed the group of sharks in just a moment. The menacing sharks are dying and running. Sutinyu looked at the escaping shark and did not chase it. They are all ordinary sharks, and they don't understand what they mean. They can't make a shark give them a lift. I have enough game currency, so I should change to a means of transportation at sea like a yacht. However, I can't drive it, forget it, but the sea is so wide and there are no obstacles, so it doesn't matter if you don't know how to drive it. As long as it can be activated. Sutinyu's storage ring contained a bicycle, an electric car, and a car, but they were all out of use now that they were in the sea. Sutinyu took out a compass, checked the direction, and then continued on his way. 3 hours later, Sutinyu finally saw the buildings in the coastal cities of Jiyan continent. The sun above the head was now covered by dark clouds, and the sky became gloomy. Another half hour passed, and Sutinyu found a beach, but there were no traces of human activity on the beach. Sutinyu first put a swimming ring on himself, then put the underwater booster belt back into the inventory, turned off the effects of the water-avoiding beads and underwater breathing beads, and finally made a dog-pawing stroke before finally setting foot on land. Sotingyu's clothes were very ordinary casual clothes, not a swimsuit. When she came up, some people on the beach also glanced at Sotingyu strangely. The look in his eyes seemed to say, "Look, there is a fool here who doesn't change into his swimsuit while swimming." Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 862. Sotingyu stretched out his hand to wipe the water droplets from his face was extremely calm, and he left the beach with quick steps. Considering that he was soaked and uncomfortable, and he didn't want to continue to be looked at in a strange way, Sotingyu found a random woman and asked about the location of the nearest public toilet. Sotingyu came to the public toilet, changed out of her wet clothes, threw them into the storage ring, and then took out towels, new clothes, and a battery brand hair dryer from the storage ring. Dry your body with a towel first, then put on dry clothes, and finally dry your hair with a hair dryer. 40 minutes later, Sotingyu walked out of the public toilet. When Sotingyu was at the beach, she saw all women, and occasionally some men wearing collars. She knew that this was really a very yin city. Just looking at the superficial situation, it seems that Jiyan City has not changed much. The proportion of time passing between the two worlds is not yet clear, and Sotingyu must first understand the current extremely negative social situation. Fortunately, Sotingyu's storage ring still contains some banknotes from Jiyan City, Liangzhu. If prices don't fluctuate too much, it is estimated that it will be enough for more than 10 days, so there is no need to bother. Find a gold bank to exchange. However, just in case, Sotingyu first went to a milk tea shop and queued up. Seeing that other people buying milk tea were using cold beads as banknotes, he safely ordered a cup of hot milk tea for himself, just in time to warm up. Sotingyu found a seat and sat down. While drinking milk tea, he took out the mobile phone he used in Yin and Yang City from his pocket, actually from his storage ring. After inserting the mobile phone SIM card, Sotingyu found that the mobile phone SIM card was useless, but the phone was still fine. There was no other way, so Sotingyu had no choice but to go to the nearest mobile phone store to apply for a new mobile phone card. Booted up smoothly and connected to the internet, Sotingyu saw that the time displayed on the phone was -1740. And the date, Sotingyu's eyes widened slightly, 9 months had passed. Sotingyu thought of the riot at Rose Winery that she had caused before she left. She didn't know if the riot had been suppressed 9 months later, or... Sotingyu returned to the milk tea shop, took a sip of milk tea, and searched for Rose Hotel online. After 2 seconds of interface refresh, all the relevant Rose Hotel information popped up. Chateau Rose riots, lowly pets in the past intend to rebel against the regime. Bloodshed incident at Chateau Rose Winery, Financial Secretary Mei Wengxiang and other high-ranking officials were beheaded by violent slaves. Rose color changes, Her Royal Highness the Second Princess was kidnapped by violent slaves. Falling roses, the violent slaves who broke free from their bonds were furious and blood-bathed the Rose Winery. The Rose Rebel was established, violent slaves poured into the slave farm, released more slaves, and beheaded all the slave traders in the slave farm. The royal family sent troops to suppress the rebellion, and the rebels were instantly defeated and fled in all directions. The rebel leader was arrested and executed 7 days later. Sotingyu read all the events surrounding the Rose Winery riot, and the final result was just as she had guessed, they were suppressed. It would be an accident if the entire extremely yin female regime was overthrown. In the extreme yin zone, women occupy the right time and place. After a short period of chaos, they can quickly organize an army to suppress the riot. In the end, the surviving rebels crossed the sea to the Jiyang continent, while the rebels who stayed in the Jiyan continent were like shady rats. Once exposed, they would be killed immediately. Sotingyu deleted the search history of the Rose Hotel and instead searched for all islands with volcanoes in the extreme yin zone. After searching like this, Sotingyu found 4 islands with volcanoes. It is not clear which volcano is marked on the underwater murals, but it can only be roughly determined that it is in the extreme yin zone. Moreover, after tens of thousands of years of evolution, perhaps the original volcanic island was merged into the continental plate due to crustal movement, or perhaps it no longer has the volcanic symbol. In order not to miss anything, Sutinyu searched for the places where volcanoes had appeared in the yin zone from ancient times to the present, and wrote them down in the memo on his mobile phone one by one, planning to check in one by one. Seeing that it was almost evening, Sutinyu found a hotel nearby to check in. Sutinyu immediately ordered a takeaway, and then went to take a shower to wash off the salty smell of sea water. In the outdoor swimming pool of a villa. Thump. A figure swam freely in the swimming pool, occasionally surfaced for air, and soon sank back into the water. Chuzinyu swam twice before going up to the swimming pool. Just as Chuzinyu bent down to pick up the red wine on the table, suddenly, the wind blowing her broken hair around her ears disappeared. No. The wind stopped. Chuzinyu's expression paused for a moment, then she sat calmly on the recliner, took a sip of red wine, and said, "Why are you here? Doesn't it mean that the more frequent you appear, the more likely it is that something will go wrong?" At some point, a silent figure appeared behind Chuzinyu. A low female voice came, "The yin-yang star's 10,000-year cycle of light and darkness is about to begin. In order to be in the best condition to welcome the subsequent public beta, this cycle of light and darkness must not make any mistakes. You go to the sealed place. During these 3 months, you must keep the seal and don't let anyone get close." Chuzinyu shook the wine glass in her hand. "Although I think you are a little unfounded, there has been nothing wrong for so many years. Okay, I will set off in 2 days, but I don't know the specific location." Chuzinyu only knew this period of history, but the sealed place was of great importance, and only members of the royal family could know it. "I will tell you the specific location now, so you can leave as soon as possible." The next day, Sutinyu went to a breakfast shop near the hotel to have breakfast, and then according to the travel route he planned last night, he called a taxi and headed to the nearest volcano. Every time he arrived at a location, Sutinyu walked around in a circle. If there was no response from the panel, he would continue to call for a taxi and go to the next location. At the end of the day, Sutinyu eliminated 7 volcanic sites. While eating dinner, Sutinyu counted how many volcanic sites there were in the memo, 40 in total. After Sutinyu confirmed tomorrow's route, she found a new hotel nearby to check into. After searching for several days, Sutinyu didn't know if it was because of his good luck. On the 6th day, when he set foot on a volcanic island by boat, the panel popped up. Main mission: awakening the sleeping fallen angels in the underground volcano, to be refreshed. Sutinyu's eyes flashed with joy. "You found the right place. Underground, volcano. Does it mean that the fallen angels are inside the crater?" Sutinyu guessed like this in her mind, and couldn't help but look at the surrounding environment carefully. This volcanic island is an extinct volcano that has been dormant for many years without any sign of eruption, and it is also a large-scale holiday attraction. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 863. Not long after Sutinyu arrived at the volcanic island, he was targeted. A woman with short hair came forward to chat. "This beautiful lady, would you like a considerate tour guide?" "Oh, tour guide." Sutinyu opened her eyes slightly and looked a little moved. Just when the short-haired woman thought that she had made a deal again, and the smile on her lips finally showed some sincerity, she heard Sutinyu in front of her say in a natural and brisk tone, "I don't need it, please let me go." The short-haired woman's expression froze and she froze on the spot. Seeing that the person was motionless, Sutinyu walked around this strange short-haired woman and continued on her own path. The short-haired woman wanted to struggle again. "Beauty, why don't you think about it again?" "Okay. I think." Sutinyu paused and pondered for 2 seconds. When the other party showed an expectant look again, he chuckled and said, "Not good." Short-haired woman. Staring at Sutinyu's retreating back, the short-haired woman suddenly came to her senses. Had she been tricked? After finding a real volcanic island, Sutinyu was in a good mood and began to search the internet for detailed information about this volcanic island. Thousands of years ago, this volcanic island still experienced frequent volcanic eruptions. Because the area of the island was limited, after the volcanic eruption, the magma spread to almost the entire island. Therefore, there was no human habitation here tens of thousands of years ago. Just 1,000 years ago, the volcano fell silent and stopped erupting. Slowly, some homeless people who could not buy a house on the mainland came here with their families by boat. The island was rich in products and could be self-sufficient. These wanderers settled here and became residents of the volcanic island. 500 years ago, the volcano island officially established a jurisdiction. 200 years ago, the volcanic island officially opened a tourist channel to receive tourists from the mainland. The crater is in the center of the island, and Sutinyu can see it as soon as he raises his head, making it easy to identify the direction. Sutinyu hailed a taxi locally and asked the driver to take him to the vicinity of the crater. "Hey, another one wants to see the eruption of a volcano." The driver sighed with emotion as he drove. Sutinyu blinked her big eyes. "Sister driver, didn't you say this is an extinct volcano? Will it erupt again? That would be too scary, right?" There was a bit of childishness and innocence in Sutinyu's tone, which easily made the driver lose most of his alienation and defensiveness. The driver laughed and said, "There will be no eruption. Every once in a while, experts sent from the mainland will conduct on-site inspections in person. This is indeed an extinct volcano." "Sister, are you a local?" Sutinyu saw that the driver was easy to talk to, so she shamelessly got closer to him. "Driver, yes, I am a local. Those who can work here are all locals, or their household registration has been moved to the island." "Sister, can that volcano really not erupt? I originally wanted to see a real volcano, I was deceived by the tour guide on the mainland." Sutinyu's eyes turned slightly, trying to get the driver's words from him. "Get some information about volcanoes. Little sister, this is indeed a volcano, but it will not erupt again. It is very safe, but..." The driver suddenly started to hesitate, as if he had unfinished words. Sutinyu asked, "Sister, what is it?" "Harm, it's nothing." The driver obviously didn't want to say anything. Sutinyu had no choice but to change the topic. "Sister, how is the volcano here different from other volcanoes? I heard a tour guide say that the volcano here is the most special, so I wanted to come and have a look." Sutinyu's tone was innocent and childish, her big eyes unblinking, and she didn't show any guilt. "Actually, it's nothing special, it's just that every once in a while, there will be a wind sound coming from the crater. That sound is a bit different from ordinary natural wind. However, we sent people in to check, and there was nothing. And there are some caves inside the crater, and it is estimated that the wind sound came from there." "Wind noise. Is it during the day or at night?" "It's all night." Oh. Sutinyu secretly wrote it down. 3 hours later, Sutinyu finally arrived near the crater. In the small sandy area next to the road, several little boys wearing collars were fighting. But if you look closely, you can see that there are 5 children hitting another child. "It's all your fault. I'm warning you, leave here immediately. Hit. Hit hard. These little boys, depending on the situation, are not anyone's pets, they should all be owned by adults. It's just that they are men. In the extreme yin zone, men must wear collars around their necks to prove that they are owners so that they will not be directly raped by other women." "Huh? What's going on there?" Sutinyu asked curiously. When the driver saw the little boy who was beaten, he was about 10 years old, thin and small, he couldn't help but clicked his tongue, "It's that boy again." "Sutingyu, sister, do you know the inside story? Those money-losing kids are from relatively poor families nearby. They went out to work to earn money at a young age. On the island, these kids will find some foreign tourists to act as tour guides and introduce the volcanic island to tourists. They just need a little tip. Then why did the fight start? Competition." The driver smiled twice. "Isn't it unexpected? Several children also have to compete with each other, but this is reality. Okay, you are at the place, it's time to get off the car, little girl, I wish you the best, have a nice trip." "Oh, okay." After Sutingyu got off the bus, she paid the balance and the taxi left. Although the group of children were fighting, they were always paying attention to whether there were any new strangers on the road. Seeing Sutingyu coming, all the children gave up bullying the little boy and approached the former with innocent and bright faces. "Sister, is there anything I can do for you? Pretty sister, can I take you to play? I know all the fun places nearby, let me show you." The sudden enthusiasm might be difficult for ordinary people to accept, but Sutingyu showed a more innocent and bright smile. "Really? You can take me anywhere." For a moment, several children looked at each other. "Why does it feel a little weird?" One of the oldest children bravely said, "Yes, beautiful sister. Oh, then I want to go inside the crater. I haven't seen what it looks like inside the volcano. But if I accidentally, the volcano erupts." Sutingyu's tone was full of unpretentious longing. He looked at the children expectantly. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 864. This. Sutingyu deliberately exaggerated to scare the children, but the latter became hesitant. Originally, it was not that no tourists wanted to visit the crater. In fact, because there were so many people, tickets were specially set up. But now that Sutingyu is exaggerating like this, the children are really worried that the volcano will suddenly erupt and bury them all alive. "I go." Suddenly, a very loud and clear male voice sounded from behind the children. Several children's expressions changed one after another, and they turned their heads to stare at the visitor without any hesitation. Sutingyu looked for her voice and saw that the child who had been beaten by a group now came to her with a calm face and said firmly again, "I can take you, sister." Sutingyu raised her eyebrows slightly. "Aren't you afraid? It's just an extinct volcano, what's there to be afraid of?" the child replied disapprovingly. Sutingyu carefully looked at the child in front of him. There were some scars on his hands and face. The clothes that had been torn loose due to the fight had been straightened out. The expression on his face did not show any signs of harm. The anger and grievance that had just been dealt with. Chances are for people who are prepared. The kid in front of me is really good at seizing opportunities in order to attract orders. Sutingyu smiled slightly. "Okay, it's up to you." Originally, Sutingyu only wanted to send these children away, but now she changed her mind. In the final analysis, the professional dungeon is a real world, and children are real children, living people, and Sutingyu cannot completely ignore them. Hearing this, the child breathed a sigh of relief, and then showed a warm smile. "Thank you for your choice, Litten is happy to serve you." When the other children saw this, no matter how regretful and angry they were, they had no choice but to leave reluctantly. They were all men, and in the extreme yin zone, they couldn't afford to offend a woman like Sutingyu. Being isolated by his peers and even jealous, Li Dun still has some abilities. The half-grown child first calmly asked Sutingyu what he thought, and then planned his subsequent sightseeing in a clear and logical manner. Sutingyu wanted to go inside the crater, and tickets were required to enter the crater. There were so many tourists recently that tickets had to be reserved several days in advance. Litton happened to have a way to get the tickets, but it would take a little time. Before that, Lee Dun recommended Sutingyu to a relatively well-known outdoor barbecue restaurant nearby. "Sister Yu, please wait here for a moment, and you can try the barbecue at this internet celebrity barbecue restaurant. I'll get the tickets." Litton arranged everything properly, which made Sutingyu very happy. "Comfortable. How long will it take for you to come back?" Sutingyu smelled the smell of barbecue in the barbecue restaurant, and suddenly her appetite increased and she felt hungry. "About 30 to 45 minutes. Sutingyu nodded. "That's good. This time is just enough for her to have a barbecue." After Lee Dun left, Sutingyu ordered food at the barbecue restaurant. The barbecue ingredients here are provided by the store itself, and if you want to have barbecue, you can either ask the store to help with the barbecue, or the store provides tools for guests to barbecue by themselves. Sutingyu took a second to recall his barbecue skills. It was 0. So, Sutingyu happily picked out the ingredients, and after paying, handed them over to the store for barbecue, and she only had to wait to eat. Because this is a well-known internet celebrity barbecue restaurant, there are quite a lot of customers. Sutingyu waited for a while and saw that there were 4 or 5 other customers' ingredients in front of him, so he went to the restroom in the store. 5 minutes later, just as Sutingyu walked out of the passage, he suddenly heard a familiar voice and paused. "District Chief Wu, is this the authentic barbecue restaurant you're talking about?" Yes, my little girl loves ordering the barbecue takeout from this restaurant. She can't live without it even for a day." Sutingyu glanced around and saw 2 women walking not far away, one of them. "She is no stranger at all. Chu Xinyu? How could she?" Sutingyu was very surprised. There are a total of 20 players in this round of professional dungeon, and Chu Xinyu is one of them. What a coincidence. We can see Chu Xinyu on the volcanic island, so she is also here for the main mission? In the professional dungeon, all players have a natural competitive relationship. The first time he saw Chu Xinyu, Sutingyu was not only surprised, but also thought of the main quest level. Huh? Chu Xinyu's copy status seems to be quite high. At this time, Chu Xinyu seemed to be talking to the woman next to her, and the latter's expression was more eager and kind. Since Sutingyu came to the volcanic island, he also knew something about the situation on the volcanic island. The woman laughing next to Chu Xinyu is the deputy district mayor of Volcano Island, and is the person with the highest jurisdiction on Volcano Island besides the district mayor. Such a person actually came to accompany Chu Xinyu for a stroll. Chu Xinyu must have known that the fallen angel is here. She cannot complete the task and obtain the profession first. Sutingyu came up with this idea without thinking. After all, no one likes to see the strength of someone who is hostile to them. What Sutingyu hesitated about was how to deal with Chu Xinyu now that she had been discovered. Follow the people first, because Chu Xinyu is connected, he should be able to find the fallen angel faster, but there is also the risk of falling behind the people, and he may also be discovered. Sutingyu looked at the last position where the 2 people Saturday. Fortunately, they were not stuck at the exit of the passage. But if you go out directly like this, what if you are seen? Sutingyu waited for more than 20 minutes, watching as his barbecue was about to be served. At this time, Chu Xinyu seemed to have received a call and walked out of the store. Taking this opportunity, Sutingyu hurried out and temporarily told the store that he would take it away and let the children who were traveling with him pick it up later. Then, he left the barbecue restaurant through the small door. Lee Dun also had a mobile phone with him, but it was an old mobile phone that could only be used to make calls and send text messages. Sutingyu remembered Lee Dun's mobile phone number. At this time, she couldn't wait in front of the barbecue restaurant, so she directly sent a text message to notify. "I have something to do at the moment, so I will go to the entrance of the crater first and bring the barbecue from the barbecue shop for me. In less than half a minute, Lee Dun had news. Okay, Sister Yu. 20 minutes later. Crater. Sister Yu, the tickets are bought and we can go there. At this time, Lee Dun came excitedly holding 2 volcano entrance tickets. His little face was very excited. Sutingyu caught the look, turned around and said, now that we've bought it, let's go. Never mind. It's better to go first by yourself. Knowing that Chu Xinyu is here, just be more careful. Good. After Litten handed one of the tickets to Sutingyu, he took the latter to pay the ticket at the entrance and then entered the crater. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 865. There are fallen angels hidden in the volcano, but the space inside the volcano is very large, and there are various caves and passages intertwined, which is very complicated. This is Sutingyu's first time here. He has Lee Dun by his side and meets other tourists from time to time. Therefore, Sutingyu does not plan to go directly to the fallen angel, but wants to understand the internal situation first and wait until the evening. People come over again. Lee Dun was carrying a bag of barbecue skewers. After Sutingyu finished one piece, he threw the skewer into the plastic bag prepared by the former and went to get new barbecue skewers. Putting aside the main mission, Sutingyu really looked like an ordinary tourist who came to visit. While Lee Dun was always paying attention to when the skewers in Sutingyu's hands were finished, so that he could raise his hand to hand over the 2 bags, he also introduced the situation inside the volcano to Sutingyu. Here it is. Besides, Lee Dun kept babbling, and the child's voice was childish and clean. It was not very noisy but very pleasant to the ears. While Sutingyu ate barbecue, he secretly memorized the route inside the volcano. Sister Yu, going further down is prohibited. Oh? No passing. Sutingyu glanced over and found that there was a no passing sign in the passage ahead, and there were people guarding it to prevent any curious tourists from accidentally running in. If you go further down, you have to go deep into the volcano. Although this is an extinct volcano, it's better not to go down below just in case, Lee Dun explained. Sutingyu had been wandering around the volcano for almost 2 hours. He had finished eating all the barbecue skewers and had not seen the main quest refreshed. So the fallen angel was probably at the bottom of the volcano. We can only come at night. There are so many people during the day. Sutingyu muttered to herself. She had memorized the route anyway, so it would be no problem for her to come alone. Well, this is where the volcano is. I also want to see other places. Do you have any recommendations? Lee Dun nodded immediately. Yes, yes. The 2 returned the same way. This time, Lee Dun didn't take a special detour to take Sutingyu to visit, so he quickly saw the exit. This is the crater. It's also one of the tourist attractions on weekdays. When Sutingyu saw the 2 figures standing at the door, his steps paused and his eyes widened slightly for a moment. Chu Xinyu? And that deputy district chief? Sutingyu was speechless in her heart. Depend on. Why did you meet Chu Xinyu again? After Sutingyu was surprised, his heart sank slightly as he thought about the main mission. Chu Xinyu also knew that the fallen angel was under the volcano. Also, when he came to the volcanic island, he received the refreshed content of the main mission. It was normal for Chu Xinyu to know the specific location of the fallen angel. So is she here now to find the fallen angel? Sutingyu glanced at the deputy district chief next to Chu Xinyu and shook off the idea. With a copy of the local humans following him, Chu Xinyu shouldn't go looking for the fallen angel openly. After all, according to the history recorded on the undersea murals, there is an undying hatred between humans in the Yin-Yang continent and fallen angels. The fallen angel is the most special one among all the angels. He is in charge of the laws of life and death. Therefore, it is difficult to kill him directly. He can only seal it and rely on the ruthless power of the years in the hope that he can survive the fallen angel. To seal an angel for 10,000 years, the humans of the Yin and Yang continent also paid a heavy price. Tens of thousands of the strongest humans on the continent at that time did not live long after they joined forces to seal the angel. Within a few years, he died suddenly, and the longest he lived was only 7 years. All of a sudden, the top human combat power in Yin-Yang continent was broken. Even their descendants, who still have the powerful bloodline power obtained by their elders after absorbing the angel's heart, cannot compete with the first generation. Now after so many years, the power of angels in the human bloodline of Yin and Yang continent has been diluted to very little. If the fallen angel broke free of the seal, it would be hard to say whether there would be any human beings in the Yin-Yang continent today who could withstand the wrath of the gods. Seeing that Chu Xinyu was about to come in, Su Tingyu would definitely be seen by the former if he went out at this time. With no other choice, Su Tingyu took out her cell phone, glanced at it pretendingly, and then said to Li Dun with a normal expression. "Li Dun, I have something to wait for. Please go and find a hotel nearby for me to stay in. The environment is better and the price is not an issue. If you find it, let me know via text message." "Okay, Sister Yu." Li Dun didn't say much and just agreed. He often interacts with all kinds of tourists, so he is naturally very smart and clever, knows the rules, and does not show doubts on his face. After Li Dun looked for him, Su Tingyu quickly turned around and slipped back into the volcano. Chu Xinyu at the door seemed to feel something, and glanced inside, but found nothing except a group of ordinary tourists. Chu Xinyu frowned slightly. "Illusion. I just felt like someone was watching me." Chu Xinyu withdrew her gaze and took over the deputy district chief's words. "Li District, recently, the scenic spots here in Huashan have been temporarily closed. It's because of the royal family here." Hey, why is this closed?" The deputy district chief was a little confused. "After all, it is an attraction. If it is closed for a month or two, the economy of the volcanic island will be lost." The deputy district chief didn't know the history of the 10,000-year cycle, and Chu Xinyu didn't need to explain. He just gave the reason he had prepared at the beginning, because 2 months ago, the Geological Bureau detected signs of the volcano's awakening, so just in case, we'll close the attractions first. When Chu Xinyu said this, she avoided the tourists coming and going around and lowered her voice so that only the deputy district chief could hear it. The volcano is going to." The deputy district chief's voice rose for a moment. Fortunately, he regained his sense and was not directly exposed. However, he felt anxious and uneasy. After all, his whole family lived on the volcanic island. Is this, definitely going to happen? Rather than believe that he has something, the deputy district chief has already started planning where on the mainland his family will move. It's just a possibility at the moment. "Don't worry. If I'm 100% sure, I won't hide it from you." Chu Xinyu didn't care on his face. After all, he was just talking nonsense. It's impossible. The volcano really erupted, right? On the other side, Su Tingyu unknowingly returned to the no-traffic intersection. Because this side was not accessible, few tourists came here. Su Tingyu turned 2 corners and saw no one around. She took out her invisible hat and put it on directly. Su Tingyu, who was about to go back, didn't take a few steps when he suddenly paused. "Wait a minute, I'm invisible now. I can secretly avoid the guards and go deeper into the volcano. Although I feel that Chu Xinyu has local humans following her, so it is unlikely that she will go directly to the fallen angel. But what if she pushed him away?" Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 866. After becoming invisible, Su Tingyu easily bypassed the guards and entered deeper into the volcano. There are many volcanic channels deep in the volcano, which were formed by early magma erupting and rising from the ground. Sutingyu went all the way down and encountered a tubular passage formed by the intersection of several fractures. Sutingyu reached out and poked the rock wall next to her. It was still strong and the temperature had already cooled down. There are so many passages, where should we go? When Sutingyu was hesitating, a dark black feather slowly floated up in the inventory, and a trace of blood appeared on the surface. Huh? The feathers are glowing. Sutingyu took out the triggered fallen angel's feather with his backhand. After taking it out, the thin layer of blood on the surface of the feathers became even more dazzling. Sutingyu's palm was upward, and the feathers were placed flat in the palm. As the blood on the feathers kept flashing, the feathers started to move automatically without any wind, and slowly left the palm of their hands, floating in mid-air. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes and murmured, "Is this, sensing something?" The feathers floating in the air seemed to be pulled by something and floated towards one of the passages. Sutingyu saw this and quickly followed. As he went further down, Sutingyu gradually felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to have increased. Sutingyu stretched out her hand again suspiciously and touched the surrounding rock wall. Nothing seems to have changed. Is it an illusion? Sutingyu turned left and right in the volcano tunnel. When he encountered a fork in the road, he drew a mark on the rock wall next to him. Sutingyu's cell phone had begun to lose signal, so she put it into the storage ring. After walking for a while, she opened the panel and took a look at the copy time displayed on it. About 3 hours passed. The feather in front of Sutingyu stopped in front of a cave entrance. Seeing this, Sutingyu walked over, stretched out his hand to hold the feather, and then looked outside the cave entrance. Outside the cave entrance is a very open space. There are some similar cave entrances on the surrounding rock walls, and at the bottom, red magma is flowing. Sutingyu slowly looked for a place to stay, carefully avoiding the magma area. This is the bottom of the volcano? But what about fallen angels? Not even a hair was seen. Sutingyu glanced at the token in his hand suspiciously. Could it be that something was wrong? Or, is there another mystery? Sutingyu started wandering around. Wait. The temperature seems wrong. Sutingyu is now close to the magma, but he feels that the surrounding temperature has not changed much. Even though it is an extinct volcano, the magma in front of you is still flowing, so there must be some heat, right? Sutingyu stared at the magma with burning eyes. 1 second, 2 seconds, I didn't dare to reach out directly, so I rummaged through the storage ring and found a towel. I held one end of it and planned to throw the other end into the magma to test the state of the magma. Sutingyu flicked his wrist, and the other end of the towel was thrown into the lava, but it was as if it was thrown into the air, and there was no feeling of being burned at all. Full of doubts, Sutingyu picked up the towel, but was surprised to find that the towel was intact and not even stained with any lava. How is this going? In addition to towels, Sutingyu tried various items, but the results were the same. Finally, Sutingyu called out a resident of the Angel Steel, "Go and see what's going on inside the magma." The resident was a little boy named Yu Xiao. After receiving the order, he plunged into the lava. The surface of the magma was as calm as ever, without even a drop of slurry splashing out. Sutingyu waited for a while, and then Yu Xiao got in, head and tail. "Master, there is still space down there." Space? Sutingyu stared closely at the magma in front of him, and a thought suddenly crossed his mind. Is it possible? Sutingyu raised his foot and stepped on the magma with the sole of his shoe tentatively. As a result, it felt like he had stepped on nothing. The magma in front of him was nothing, and the sole of his shoe showed no trace of being damaged by the magma. Sutingyu took a deep breath and activated the function of the protective clothing as a defensive item. By the way, I put the fire-avoiding beads back into the accessories column, and the function is also turned on. Magma and fire are also relatives. If an accident occurs, it should have some effect. After getting ready, Sutingyu recited 3 numbers in his mind, then jumped directly into the lava. As Sutingyu expected, this layer of magma was a deception, like a projected image, realistic but not threatening. And under the magma, there is a huge cave. In the sea of scalding magma that is radiating heat, scattered gravels float in it, intermittently, forming some kind of strange pattern. In the center of the magma sea, there stood a black cross, about 5 meters high. On the cross, several chains were wrapped around a lean man with no clothes on his body. The man is about 1.9 meters tall and has perfect body proportions. Every inch of skin texture and every outline of his body is like a work of art carefully carved by God, giving people a feeling that neither one dares to look at from a distance nor one cannot desecrate. Sutingyu immediately blocked the man's lower body with his hands. Is this a fallen angel? The man has blonde hair, smooth, hanging straight down to his buttocks. The man's eyes were closed slightly, like a lifeless statue, without any reaction. Hiss. At this time, the man was surrounded by several ugly-looking feathered birds. The sharp beaks pierced the man's skin like a newborn baby, and blood as bright as red wine flowed out of the wound. Sutingyu thought of the eagle monster mentioned in the outline of the world view. Could it be the ugly thing in front of him? Sutingyu carefully counted the number of eagle monsters. There were 7 of them, 2 of which were the largest, like the leaders of the group of eagle monsters. The 2 big ones are not a male and a female, right? And the rest are their offspring. Sutingyu's expression became a little exciting. Good guy. Are the humans on Yin Yang Star so evil? There are 2 eagle monsters, 1 male and 1 female. Isn't it obvious that they are allowed to use the bodies of fallen angels to reproduce and eat the flesh of angels for generations? Hiss. The 2 largest eagle monsters let out shrill screams, and the other 5 eagle monsters all flew towards Sutingyu. The vulture monsters circled around Sutingyu's head, their eyes full of malice and vigilance, and they seemed to be looking for the weakness of the outsider, Sutingyu. I've been discovered. Sutingyu took out the death blade and prepared to fight. In the undersea murals, there is a graphic description that records that the existence of the eagle monster is not only to torture fallen angels, but also to kill all creatures that come here without authorization. As soon as the death blade came out, the bloody cold aura of the blade also spread. Hiss. The reaction of the eagle monster suddenly became intense, its wings kept flapping, and its mood was restless, as if it sensed some danger. Sutingyu glanced at the death blade in his hand and murmured, "Is it possible that the death blade can restrain these eagle monsters?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 867. The Death Blade is the most powerful against undead creatures. These vulture monsters have existed for thousands of years, and it is not impossible that some kind of mutation has occurred in them. Sutingyu waved his blade, taking advantage of the group of eagle monsters being affected, to chop down a smaller eagle monster. Hiss. The eagle monster whined, and the area touched by the death blade immediately turned to pus, and finally turned into bursts of foul-smelling black smoke. It really works. Sutingyu's eyes brightened slightly, and he continued to swing the death blade to kill the remaining eagle monsters. While Sutingyu was fighting with the eagle monster, the man who had been silent on the cross began to recover from the pecked chest, and the wounds on his body slowly healed. After dozens of seconds, the man opened his eyes. When the man saw the scene in front of him, his face that had remained unchanged for thousands of years changed slightly. A low and hoarse voice flowed out slowly. Sutingyu felt as if there was thunder striking his ears, causing waves of buzzing and dizziness. Sutingyu covered her head and staggered back several steps. Almost at the same time, the death blade in Sutingyu's hand glowed with blood, and a warm current flowed from the palm holding the handle of the knife and slowly poured into his whole body. Sotingyu shook his head and regained some clarity in an instant. At this time, the last big eagle monster swelled into a ball because of this sound, and finally exploded into blood with a bang. Seeing Sotingyu recover so quickly, the faint contempt on the fallen angel's stern face subsided slightly. Seeing that the eagle monsters were all dead, Sotingyu turned her attention to the fallen angel who suddenly woke up. She shook her head slightly and responded, "I am not a human being." Hearing this, the fallen angel's expression, which had not seen a trace of fluctuation in 10,000 years, seemed to freeze for a moment, and when he looked at Sotingyu, there was a hint of weirdness in his eyes. Sotingyu added unhurriedly, "I forgot to mention that I am not a human from the Yin and Yang continent. I come from a different world." As Sotingyu said the last three words, he felt calmer when he saw that there was no response from the panel. As long as the parallel paradise is not leaked directly, it will not be blocked by the panel system. Another world, the fallen angel looked at the frail human in front of him again. Sotingyu looked calm. "Yes, I believe that Your Excellency, the fallen angel, should be able to tell that I am not a human from Yin-Yang planet, right?" This was the first time that Sotingyu took the initiative to reveal his identity in the dungeon world. It was not a sudden move, but a plan that had been planned for a long time. After all, if Sotingyu wanted to continue to obtain follow-up tasks from the fallen angel, he naturally needed the latter to communicate with him calmly. If one does not reveal one's identity, it is almost impossible for a human from the Yin-Yang star to gain the trust of the fallen angels. Sotingyu took out the feather from the inventory as he spoke, "Your Excellency, the feather in my hand is the one that guided me to find you." "This feather? It's mine." The fallen angel's expression became lazy, and his initial sharpness was completely restrained after seeing this feather. "Really?" These two words came to Sotingyu's mind. Sotingyu's eyes lightly scanned the broken wings behind the fallen angel. Although the wings were all broken, there were still some black feathers left. Similar to the token feather in Sotingyu's hand, no matter the surface texture, color, etc., all exactly the same. So far, Sotingyu has been exposed to 3 professional dungeons. If you count the time when players from other worlds came to Kunming, there should be 4 professional dungeons. The professional dungeon world is a real world, and players who want to enter the professional dungeon world need to hold tokens. In the real world of Kunming, Sotingyu captured all the players from another world and obtained all their game items through hypnosis, including their token when they came to their own world, a scrap of paper. Page. Through follow-up investigations, it was discovered that the so-called tokens carried by these players from another world were actually the lost pages of the ancient Wu family's inherited skills. The tokens of the professional dungeon should belong to the professional dungeon world, not the parallel paradise itself. Now, Sotingyu came to the Yin and Yang world with the help of the token feather of the fallen angel. From the name alone, it is not difficult to understand the origin of the token. Sotingyu, then how did your feathers spread? Are you not clear about this question? As if he heard something surprising, the expression on the fallen angel's face showed a slight fluctuation, as if he was confused. Sotingyu, what should I know? The fallen angel was just about to move his body, but was restrained by the chains on his body. He didn't care much and explained to Sotingyu, "I don't know how many years ago it was, probably the 7th time I was left here. During this cycle, a consciousness found me and made a deal with me." "Consciousness, what kind of deal?" Sotingyu asked. The fallen angel looked lazy. "I forgot, it was probably just taking a few feathers from me. That consciousness promised that one day, the holder of the feathers would help me solve a problem." "Problem?" Sotingyu looked at the fallen angel's body that was tightly wrapped in chains. Could the so-called solution to the problem be asking the feather holder to rescue the fallen angel? What is that consciousness? What the fallen angels mentioned was not people, let alone a specific race, but an intangible and invisible consciousness. Who is the owner of this consciousness? I don't know. The fallen angel glanced at Sutinyu with a strange expression. You hold my feathers and were guided here. Shouldn't you know the inside story better than me? Sutinyu had nothing to say, and could only blink his big innocent eyes. The fallen angel's feather that Sutinyu obtained came from the parallel paradise. The consciousness mentioned by the fallen angel must be related to the parallel paradise. As for parallel paradise, Sutinyu couldn't tell him directly. Your Excellency Angel, since I am the holder of the feather, I should also fulfill the transaction content of the year and help you get out of the current predicament. After the question was almost finished, Sutinyu thought of the main mission and found the fallen angel. Refresh, maybe some trigger point is needed. Are you sure? The divine light in the fallen angel's eyes flashed. Why don't you first ask me what I need the holder to do? Even if it's death. The smile on Sutinyu's face did not change. No need to ask. If it can be done, I will do my best. If it can't be done, I will just leave. That's weird. This is a professional dungeon. No matter how difficult the main mission is, it must be completed. Otherwise, Sutinyu would have to find a needle in a haystack, eliminate the remaining 19 players, and commit suicide before he could escape from the dungeon world. The fallen angel snorted softly and said in a lukewarm tone, "Sure enough, humans are all cunning and treacherous." Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 868. Since you want to fulfill it, I have no reason to refuse. The fallen angel raised his head slightly and moved his neck slightly. This was the only part he could move. Main mission, accept the commission from the fallen angel Lucifer. When the fallen angel let go, the panel popped out and refreshed the main mission. But Sutinyu's attention at this time was all focused on the god tied to the cross. Lucifer. This is the name of a fallen angel. But, what are the string of question marks at the end? Before Sutinyu could figure out the reason, Lucifer's voice came again. I need you to find 4 divine objects, which are dash. Angel heart. Angel staff. Angel sword. The edge of destruction. As soon as Lucifer finished speaking, Sutinyu's panel was refreshed again, and this time, 4 main quests were refreshed in succession. Main mission, looking for the angel's heart, to be refreshed. Main mission, looking for the angel's staff, to be refreshed. Main mission, looking for the angel's sword, to be refreshed. Main mission, looking for the edge of destruction, to be refreshed. Sutinyu was stunned for a moment and asked quickly, looking for these 4 divine objects? Then where should I look for them? Once I find them, I will hand them over to you. Will the transaction be completed? These 4 divine objects are hidden in the hands of the current powerful people in the continent. You need to check their specific locations yourself. As for whether it is completed after the search is completed, it's up to you. Lucifer's voice paused and he only gave an ambiguous answer. Sutinyu, For a moment, Sutinyu thought Lucifer had seen through that he had a panel and a main mission. Sutinyu turned around and glanced at the ball of blood on the ground. It was the eagle monster that Lucifer had just exploded with just one word. Sutinyu remembered that Lucifer was sealed here and his own divine power was suppressed and could not be used. How? Thinking like this, Sutinyu asked. It's not divine power. Lucifer lowered his eyes slightly, glanced at the many chains that were tied to his body, and the seals hidden on nearby rocks, and said in a cold voice, it's the pressure of God, the absolute suppression of all things in the world. Sutinyu was stunned for a moment, then came back to his senses and complained unceremoniously, since you can kill these beasts with just your mouth, why do you let them abuse you? The fallen angel Lucifer, who can't always be superior, is still a jerk, right? Useful. Lucifer said these 2 words with a cold expression and said nothing more. It works. What's the use? Promote blood circulation? Exercise your body's healing power? Lucifer didn't want to elaborate, so Sutinyu could only suppress the doubts in her heart and change the subject. Does taking back those 4 divine objects mean that you break free from the seal and regain your freedom? Break free of the seal. Lucifer repeated, his eyes as deep as the sea of stars, showing an expression that was difficult to fathom, and his tone contained a rare hint of amusement. You want to let me out? Lucifer's chest shook and heaved slightly. He suddenly lowered his head and laughed slowly, the kind of laughter with unknown meaning. It's really interesting, there's someone wanting to let me out. Sutinyu looked at Lucifer strangely, feeling something strange in his heart. How do you feel? This fallen angel is not keen on regaining his freedom? It's like I don't want to come out. No, it's probably because he never thought about coming out. Is this an illusion? How can a normal person, God, like to be locked up all the time? Sutinyu has now also received the follow-up main mission, and it is time to leave the volcanic island and return to Jian continent. Then make sure you agree in advance. I'm not from the Yin-Yang continent. Every wrong you owes you a debtor. When the time comes and you want to seek revenge, don't come looking for me. Lucifer, I know. Then I'm leaving. I will bring those 4 divine objects back to you. Sutinyu was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly remembered something, so he turned around and asked. By the way, if there are other feather holders coming over, you will also trade with them, right? Sutinyu thought of choosing you outside, and asked tentatively. Lucifer, if they need it, I have no reason to refuse. Oh well. Not surprisingly, Sutinyu got this answer. Since Lucifer is the core of the main mission, it can naturally be triggered by all players. Even if he comes first, he cannot occupy it. Sutinyu looked up at the layer of virtual magma in the sky, and then estimated the distance. When he jumped down just now, he just felt a little high. Because of the Yoloyo gemstone, Sutinyu jumped down easily. But now when he wanted to go up again, he found that the distance seemed a little higher. Sutinyu didn't care about Lucifer's presence and directly took out the rock climbing tools from the storage ring. The hook claw swung and it was firmly grasped on the rock wall above. Sutinyu tried to pull it to see if it was firm, and then prepared to climb up. Behind him, an emotionless laughter suddenly came. It's so embarrassing. Ahem. Sutinyu defended herself angrily, I can't fly up, I can only crawl. With that said, Sutinyu continued to climb the rock in a snail's style. You can fly unexpectedly, Lucifer replied in a tone that didn't sound fake. Sutinyu was confused, huh? Faye. You hold my feathers and you can use part of my power, and flying is the most basic power, Lucifer explained. Hearing this, Sutinyu, who had crawled less than 2 meters, jumped down to the ground and took out his feathers again. Sutinyu's little face was filled with excitement. What should we do? Do we need any spells? Lucifer, no, if you think you can fly, that's fine. What is a spell? The fallen angel himself stated that he had no contact with it at all. Think. Sutinyu stared at the feathers. I want to fly. I want to fly. I want to fly. 10 seconds later. Hey, why not? Sutinyu was just about to complain when the feathers in his hand slowly lit up. The surface of the feathers was coated with a layer of blood. As the color deepened, the entire feather was broken down into countless small blood-colored particles in Sutinyu, which dissipated without leaving a trace. The next second, Sutinyu suddenly felt some heat on the shoulder blades on his back, as if something was growing rapidly. Soon, a pair of black wings appeared on Sutinyu's body. Sutinyu was amazed, and as her thoughts changed, the pair of wings were as flexible as natural hands and feet. The wings flapped slightly, Sutinyu's feet slowly lifted off the ground, and he rose into the air. Wow! Sutinyu took a while to adapt, then waved his black wings and flew towards the virtual magma above his head.